Hey, John, I have something to tell you. I know they're like 15 months before the election, but I've been talking to some pretty high-profile Republicans for job advice, and they suggested that I resign. So I'm just letting you know as of next week I'm resigning.
You're going to resign? What are you going to do?
I'm going to move to Florida and run for the Senate.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to Hotline TV. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm John Mercurio. Okay, Amy Walter. What would you do if you were Charlie Crist? And by that, I mean, let me explain. After Senator Mel Martinez resigned or announced his resignation from the Senate on Friday, Governor Crist is now faced with choosing a caretaker, for the seat who won't jeopardize Crist's own campaign to replace Martinez in the Senate, but still has to in some way serve out the rest of his term. So, all right, what's your advice? He's a big fan of the show, Charlie Crist. He usually takes a couple minutes every day, he's let us know, to watch the show. He's waiting for you, Amy Walter, to give him advice. What should he do? He has to make this decision in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I think that's the number one thing we learned from watching these other governors who, let's say, handled the appointment process.
Botched.
Botched is a nice way to do it. Did not handle it well. David Patterson. Blagojevich actually handled it quite well for himself.
Well, tried to.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he got his guy in, and
then he lost
decided
his own political and financial and
that was
legal
happening anyway.
Stability.
Time seems to be the real issue here, which is the more you sort of dither, the more it looks like you're trying to make everybody happy or make certain constituent groups, feel like they're plugged in. The tougher it's going to be. You pick somebody who has some gravitas, who's been around the block. The other thing he has to decide is if you pick somebody who's too moderate,
right,
then
it's going
to be another C. Charlie Crist, you can't really trust him. This is what he's doing in Washington. You pick somebody who's too conservative, then it looks as if he's simply just sort of selling out in order to
I think the moderate thing is the real challenge for him in the primary, because you're going to have people like Marco Rubio still in the race against him, a conservative challenger in the Senate race in 2010, who is then going to have, if Crist does choose a moderate, will then have actual votes. He can say, you can sort of pie in the sky theorize about what Charlie Crist would do, what sort of votes he would take. But if you have a Crist appointee, a moderate in the Senate, who's working with Olympia Snowe, who's working with the other Senate moderates, that might play well in a general election, but for Marco Rubio, those become attack ads. Those become ads, I think, that you can run against him. And would Connie Mack, sort of an elder statesman in the party, said he's not interested, but would Jim Smith, be someone you could choose? Probably more reliable for conservatives. On the other hand, if your biggest issue for Crist is loyalty, his former chief of staff, whose name I can't remember, we've got it all right here, all of our, Georges Lemieux. If your biggest issue is loyalty, he is Crist's former chief of staff. He could be somebody you could look at. But probably
loyalty
not likely.
For what? I mean, this becomes the whole question, which is, I think he wants to distance himself as much as possible from whoever he picks, right? So it's,
I think you're right.
I recommended this person, but I'm going to run on my own merits, and whoever this person is going to do what they need. If I'm Mitch McConnell, I'm also a little bit nervous too, right? I mean, they knew that they were going to lose Martinez on a couple of votes. Obviously, immigration, Sotomayor, there are places where they're going to part ways. But now you're going to bring somebody in who hasn't been part of this system, who might not necessarily be sort of as engaged in the partisan line drawing as Republicans in the Senate have been. If you're Barack Obama, I would use the opportunity to maybe bring him in for a beer, perhaps, or she. Or she.
Could be. Although none of the names are women. Maybe Catherine Harris. I haven't seen that name thrown out there.
Okay, you know what? One name isn't out there. What about Jeb Bush? Is that just
He's so not interested in politics anymore. Plus, I mean, that's, I think, dangerous for Crist in a general election to appoint a Bush. Even though it's Jeb Bush, even though he's very popular still as a former governor it's dangerous for Crist in the Senate in 2010, and I think it's dangerous for the Republican Party overall right now for there to be a Bush. As I just read on the hotline today, the hotline spotlight, Democrats trying still to use the Bush name in 2010. I think this would add to their problems. Let's go to the bigger question, the more pressing question to me right now. Why did Martinez do this? Why did Martinez? He had, what, 14, 15 months left in his term, 16, whatever. Why not serve out the rest of your term? There's been no smoking gun, no reason exactly given for why he did this.
You have a nice salary.
I was sort of done. I was just so done. I know I promised to serve 6 years, but 5.5 is good enough. Where have we heard that before? Alaska just a few weeks ago.
Well, and I think that you do start to wonder if this is going to start to take a toll on Republicans. This is not, we have Kay Bailey Hutchison stepping down, costing taxpayers in Texas money to have a special election there for her Senate seat because she wants to. Again, there's no reason that she needs to step down. There's no legal reason to do this. She just wants to get a step ahead in her gubernatorial contest.
You know who's staying and fighting?
Who?
Mark Sanford. Let's give a little shout out to Mark Sanford.
That's a very good point. He's not a quitter. Now, Jenny
a quitter.
Looks like she's a quitter. I mean, come on.
She is so out of there.
God, just because a guy says to you, you know, when a guy says, I'm going to try to fall back in love, and you don't take that as a serious sign of reconciliation, what's wrong with you?
But we digress. And unfortunately, we are out of time. So much more to discuss about the Florida Senate race, so much more time to do so. Unlike Mel Martinez, we have all the time in the world. And we're not resigning, and we're not going anywhere. So we'll see you next time on Hotline TV.
I'm Amy Walter. Thanks for watching.